Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Melching Field here in beautiful and sunny DeLand, Florida. Gorgeous weather for this non-Stetson Hatters matchup to start off our Saturday afternoon here. Sacred Heart and Bethune-Cookman facing off. It'll be a doubleheader day for BCU as they'll be playing the Hatters in the nightcap here at Melching Field. Sacred Heart, of course, got their first taste of the Hatters last night, falling to them 7-1. Sacred Heart on the first base side of the field. That's where their dugout is located. Of course, normally Stetson's when they're playing here. Bethune-Cookman set up on the roadside in the third base dugout, rocking the black tops and the white pants. Thank you for joining us here on Hatter Vision. I'm Assad Bendian. We're about to get this game underway momentarily. Ryan LeMay, the senior righty, taking the bump for Bethune-Cookman. Wildcats entering today with a 2-win, 6-loss record. Were victorious their last time out against Jacksonville, 4-3 final over at the Jackie Robinson Ballpark in Daytona Beach, which of course is the home for Bethune-Cookman for most of their home games. That is a facility they share with the Daytona Tortugas of the Florida State League, single A ball, and the Tortugas are the primary tenant. So Bethune often plays a lot of their home games before the minor league season kicks off, and what games they won't be able to play at the Jack this year, they'll probably end up playing at Bethune Point, which is a local park in Daytona Beach. LeMay will start us off. The righty delivers. First pitch to Justin Jordan. Actually, excuse me. My apologies there. I got my starters confused. Ryan LeMay is the guy going for Sacred Heart. This is Lewis Lipthrat for BCU. Bethune will be the team batting in the bottom part of the innings here. Big cut from Jordan, and that's strike three. Lipthrat has been Bethune's main Friday night guy for the beginning of the year. He's been pretty good, actually. 2.70 ERA entering today. Making his third appearance of the year. And the first pitch to Emerson is in for the strike. Lipthrat firing outside. 1 ball, 1 strike to count. Now one hit right up the gut by Emerson. So the 1-1 is smoked in the center field for Sacred Heart's first hit in this game.
Right fielder, number 26, George Sutherland.
George Sutherland will be at the dish right now for the Pioneers. We'll set BCU defensively for you in just a sec. Lipthrat from the stretch. That's hit right to the first baseman. He'll run to the bag for the first out. That's Kobe Tweeton. As Robert Ferrugio steps in, let's get Bethune set up for you. We met Colby Tweeton at first. Colton Olassen will be at second base for Bethune to start this game off. Matthew Garcia at short. Brian Perez over at third. Behind the dish, it's Irvin Escobar. He'll be catching Lipthrat's pitches in the outfield. Malik Stevens in center. He's been one of their main offensive threats this year, a danger on the base paths. As Lipthrat fires low there to Sutherland. In right field for Bethune, it'll be Galen Rutledge, making his 5th start of the year. Boris Pena making his 3rd start of the year in left field. Not a whole lot of difference in the batting order for Sacred Heart compared to their game against Stetson yesterday. Most of the lineup the same in the same spots. The only real difference is the bottom of the order. You've already met Jordan and Emerson. Sutherland and Ferrugio now at the plate, of course. That one gets away from Escobar, and that's going to allow Emerson to move his way all the way to 3rd. So Sacred Heart now 90 feet away from grabbing the lead. Ferrugio now facing a 2-0 count. Sacred Heart managed to strike first in their loss yesterday to Stetson, grabbing the lead early, and they do it here. Ferrugio with the single up the middle. Easy crossing the plate there for Emerson, and it's 1-0 Pioneers. That time, Sacred Heart earning their lead. Yesterday, Justin Jordan's run coming on a throwing error from Banks Griffith that allowed him to score essentially all the way from first. Sam Angeli stepping in here. In for the strike. Mongeli with a 174 batting average entering this contest. Hitting's been a hard thing to come by for Sacred Heart this season, as a team batting only 171. That one a grounder to short, flipped the second for the force, and side retired. But Robert Ferrugio gets us started. Single right up the gut, scoring Joe Emerson. Bottom of the 1st coming up. Bethune-Cookman will grab the bats for the first time in this one. You're watching Hatter Vision. First at bats for BCU in this one. Sacred Heart grabbing the lead early. 1-0 on the Robert Ferrugio RBI. First pitch swinging from Malik Stevens is laced into right field. That will drift foul and go off the bullpen wall. And Malik Stevens, very fleet of foot, will have to jog his way back to home plate to take another swing here. He has been ridiculously hot to start the year. .366 batting average, 15 hits and 41 at-bats, 6 runs scored. He's already swiped 12 bases this year in 14 attempts. So when he gets on board, he's usually going for second. That one's a bouncer to third, gathered up on the bounce by Emerson. And to throw across the diamonds in time for out number 1.
Number 4, Matthew Garcia.
Matthew Garcia will step in here, the shortstop for Bethune-Cookman. Kobe Tweeten, the first baseman, is on deck for BCU. Boris Pena cleaning up today and in left field. Irvin Escobar in the 5th spot. He's the catcher tonight, or today, I should say. Brian Perez, the third baseman for Bethune, batting 6th. Manny Sufrain, the freshman DH, in 7th. Galen Rutledge, the right fielder, in 8th. Colton Alasson rounds out the order for Bethune-Cookman. As LeMay fires outside, 1-1 the count now. We've mentioned about Ryan LeMay already, the senior righty. Fires in. And the man in blue gives the strike call there, 1-2. Tyler Galletti behind the dish for Sacred Heart. Dante DeMore at first. Tim McGuire at second. McGuire getting his first action this weekend. He did not play in last night's loss to Stetson. Sam Mongelli at short. Joe Emerson at third. Justin Jordan in center field. Ryan Donnelly in left. George Sutherland in right. That's how Sacred Heart is set up to start this game. The 1-2 is fouled away by Garcia. That hits the backstop netting here. Bethune snapping a 6-game losing streak midweek with the 1-1 win over Jacksonville as Garcia goes down swinging. And with 2 outs on the board, it's Colby Tweeten. Tweeten's one of the biggest guys on this Bethune-Cookman roster. .6'7", 270 is how he stands. And that's a strike. Tweeten has seen a fair amount of action, but hasn't been particularly productive at the plate. That one hit weakly towards second, and it's gathered up for the final out here in the bottom of the 1st. Wildcats go down in order. Top of the 2nd coming up. Sacred Heart 1, Bethune-Cookman nothing. You're watching Hatter Vision. Six, 7, and 8 here for the Pioneers. As Sacred Heart looks to extend their 1-run lead. First pitch swinging for DeMore. He's in the center field, and actually that'll bounce into the gap in right center. DeMore hustling around first towards second, somehow managing to keep his helmet on, even though it was hanging out by his ears.
Batting 7th, the left fielder, number 4, Ryan Donnelly.
And Zamori with a extra base hit to start us off here on the very first pitch he sees in this game. Lipthrat running into trouble early here after he's been having a very good start to his 2022 campaign. That one a bunt, dropped right in front of Lipthrat. There's nobody covering the bag at first. Mental miscue there from BCU. And that's going to put runners at the corners with nobody out.
Batting eighth, the catcher, number 46, Tyler Coletti.
So give Donnelly the single. But in reality, a mental breakdown there from the Wildcats. Somebody got their wires crossed between Colton Elassid and Kobe Tweeten at first. Throw to the plate, to throw to first base there to keep Donnelly close by. Tweeten was charging down the line to grab the bunt. Elassid was well away from the bag at first. He tried getting there, but by the time he did, Donnelly had already reached. As that's fouled away by Galletti. Galletti getting his first action this weekend here in DeLand. The sophomore from New York with a chance here to extend the lead for Sacred Heart. Runners at the corners and no one out. He hits that right up the middle. Gathered up by Elassid. The flip to second for one. The first, it's a double play. But Demore comes around the score, and it's 2-0 Sacred Heart.
And batting ninth, the second baseman, number 20, Tim McGuire.
So give Galletti the no RBI in the play for him since it was on a double play. So Tim McGuire will step in. And that one up the middle, off the mound, and into center field. So now that's Sacred Heart's third hit in this inning so far. Give him 5 in the game. And we cycle back to the top here in Justin Jordan. Sacred Heart wasting no time here and putting the ball in play. Demore and Donnelly stroked it first pitch. Galletti and McGuire did it second pitch. Throw over to first there. And clearly the game plan for Nick Restaino and his Pioneers to try to get Lipthrat early in the count. So far it's working for him. Lipthrat already allowing 2 across here. The throw to first. Tweeten doing a nice job keeping that in front of him. Lipthrat, a redshirt sophomore, 6'4", 200 is how he stands. He's from Dublin, Ohio. Junior college transfer. That's a common theme on this Bethune-Cookman squad. They got a whole lot of JUCOs. Big cut there from Jordan. He is 0 for 1 in this game. He K'd on an 0-2 count to start us off. Throw over to first again. Jordan, a guy who is certainly among those who could be drafted once the season wraps up for Sacred Heart. He's among the top draft prospects in the Northeast Conference this year. Tries to drop the bunt, and that will go foul. McGuire at first, stretching the lead out a little here, maybe 2 strides from the bag. Still too far away for lip threat, though. We mentioned Bethune-Cookman getting their win midweek over Jacksonville, breaking a 6-game losing streak. Their only other win was opening day against Youngstown State, a game that lip threat did start. Count still 0-2 after that offering was fouled away by Jordan. 2 outs on the board here. Both coming on a 4-6-3 double play from Galletti that plated DeMore from third. And that one hit by Jordan in the center field, and Bethune-Cookman center fielder, Malik Stevens, will put it in the glove. So Sacred Hearts open this game with single runs in the first and in the second. Bethune-Cookman looking to get their first when we come back. You're watching Hatter Vision. Wildcats went down in order in the bottom of the first. So heart of the order here for Jonathan Hernandez and his Wildcats. Boris Pena, Irvin Escobar, Brian Perez. Bethune with the white domed helmets, the black tops, the white pants with the black stripe. Sacred Heart donning the more traditional road gray. And LeMay fires in for the strike there. 1-1 on Pena. Pena entering today, making his third start of the year, .333 batting average. Now looking at a 1-2 after that foul tip. Does have 2 homers on the year, so he's got some power. Bethune as a team total has only 3 on the season. Galen Rutledge with the other. 1-2 is popped up. Shallow right towards foul territory. 3 Pioneers going for it. And Tim McGuire is the one who banged against the fence there as that one landed in on Hatter Hill. Sacred Heart staked out to a 2-0 lead early in this game. Single runs in the first and in the second, respectively. As that one's fired high by LeMay. Bethune yet to get anyone on at this point. 2 groundouts and a strikeout is how they were retired in the first. That one hit hard, and that's a base hit between short and third. So Pena becomes the first Wildcat to reach in this game.
Batting fifth, the catcher, number 22, Irvin Escobar.
Irvin Escobar will step in here for Bethune-Cookman, freshman catcher. one of 3 freshmen in the starting lineup today for Jonathan Hernandez. Manny Sufrain and Galen Rutledge, the others, actually. If this inning goes the way Bethune-Cookman hopes, you'll be seeing them soon enough. As LeMay fires that one, let her high. Brian Van Vranken calling the balls and strikes today. Shannon Jernigan at first, Joseph Jokowitz at third. The same crew, actually, that worked the Sacred Heart Stetson game last night, just in slightly different spots. And that's a strike call from Van Vranken, 1-1. Jokowitz actually was the one calling the balls and strikes yesterday. Van Vranken, I believe, was at first, and Jernigan was at third. Time called there. We mentioned Sacred Heart struggles at the plate. Bethune-Cookman hasn't been a whole lot better. .215 batting average as a team entering today. 1-1. Misses outside. 2-1 the count. Today's game between the Pioneers and the Wildcats, the first time they've ever faced off on the diamond. The 2-1 is stroked opposite field. George Sutherland is there, though. That one being blown by the wind a bit as he makes the grab for the first out here in the bottom of the second.
Number 13, Brian Perez.
In case you're wondering about the weather, 81 degrees. Wind out of the east at 14 miles an hour. So gusting a little stronger than it did last night. Last night it was around the 7 to 8 mile range. Throw over to first there. And Boris Pena just got back in time. Brian Perez, the junior third baseman, stepping in. A lot of new faces on this Wildcats roster as he swings through that one. Bethune-Cookman was among a handful of college baseball programs who did not play in 2021, as that one is bounced all the way near Hatter Hill, and that's going to be a 2-base throwing error. Boris Pena hustling all the way to third on that E1 from Ryan LeMay. At least I'm presuming it's an error, still waiting for the official score. But definitely looked like a throwing error all the way on LeMay. Once I get confirmation, I'll let you know. In the meantime, you've got Pena on third. And Brian Perez with a chance to put BCU on the scoreboard. Tyler Galletti, the catcher, was keeping an eye on Pena there as he was taking a fairly decent lead from third. But no Pioneer holding the bag there. Emerson was actually charging towards the plate. Sacred Heart looks like they were anticipating some kind of a suicide squeeze. Other than Emerson, the rest of the infield in the normal spots as Perez holds up. 2-1. So they're not going to call it an error. Well, actually, no, they are going to call it an error. My apologies. That is an error on LeMay. As Perez foul-tipped that one, and I think that went off of Galletti's, I'm guessing his face mask. It definitely went off something on him, though. So you'll have to shake that off. And it looks like Galletti's all right. He's crouching back down. Galletti taking the start behind the dish in place of Joey Scarad, who got the start last night for Sacred Heart against Stetson. Galletti making just his third start of the year. The 2-2 is popped up. Right field, Sutherland under it. Let's see if Pena goes. He does. The ball is caught. The throw to home is offline. And Bethune-Cookman's on the scoreboard. The sac fly RBI makes it 2-1 Sacred Heart.
Batting seventh, the designated hitter, number 16, Manny Soufray.
And with no one on board here, it'll be the DH for Bethune-Cookman, Manny Soufray. This is a very righty-heavy lineup for BCU today. Soufray, the only lefty listed, actually. Matthew Garcia is a switch hitter, so he'll also be batting from the left side since LeMay is a righty. He's set up on the first base side of the slab, and that is high. So 2-0 here on Manny Soufray. Making his 4th start of the year, batting .182 entering this at-bat. Lays off of that. Soufray, a freshman from Miami, Florida. Now looking at a 3-run count after he lays off that ball. Played his high school ball at Braddock Senior. And that is foul tipped to the backstop netting here in Melching. So full count here. And by my count, that is the first time all game that we've seen a full count from LeMay. With 2 outs on the board here. The payoff. And Soufray is down looking. So give LeMay his second punch out in this game. But Bethune-Cookman gets a run across. Boris Pena coming in on a sac fly RBI from Brian Perez. And we head to the top of the 3rd with the score. Sacred Heart 2, Bethune-Cookman 1. You're watching Hatter Vision. 2, 3, and 4 here for Sacred Heart as we are through 2 innings at Melching Field. Sacred Heart 2, Bethune-Cookman 1. Thanks for joining us on Hatter Vision. I'm Assad Bendion. This game, one of 2 that will be played here at Melching Field. Bethune-Cookman, the one common denominator in both those games. They'll be taking on the Hatters, renewing the Volusia County rivalry. 6:30 Saturday night, of course, tonight. As Emerson ducks out of the way of that one, 2-0. Of course, we'll have the Stetson BCU game for you here on Hatter Vision. Hatters and Wildcats will actually face off 3 times this season, but this will be the only time this weekend that the 2 will play one another. That one roped down the line at 3rd, and now roll all the way near the corner. Emerson will round first. He'll take 2 standing. Second double for Sacred Heart in this game. Dante DeMori doing the honors to lead off the second, and now Emerson doing likewise here in the 3rd. And George Sutherland will step in as the offensive engine just keeps rolling here for the Pioneers. They've scored a run in the 1st and a run in the 2nd. Already more runs for them in this one Then against Stetson last night, they only plated one, that one coming off a throwing error. And that's in for the strike. Sutherland rounding out the first and is only at bat so far in this game, that coming in the first inning. Emerson, about 3 or 4 strides from the bag. The throw's the second. And Emerson was nearly caught there. Matthew Garcia, the sophomore shortstop for Bethune-Cookman, doing a nice job creeping up to the bag there so that Lipthrat can make the throw. It's a very good throw to the bag, actually. The 0-1 here is bounced foul off the plate, I think. Definitely foul territory, regardless. 0-2 to count here on Sutherland. It's been a rough start to the year for Sacred Heart. Their only win coming midweek against Stony Brook. Pioneers have yet to play a home game this year. That'll be coming soon enough, though, as Lipthrat airmails that one into center field. But fortunately for the Wildcats, Emerson not able to move up. Garcia actually landed on him as he tried to snag that errant throw. I'm not sure Emerson even knew it went in the center field, to be honest. Although he probably guessed from the way Garcia landed on him. Looks all right, though, so we'll resume play here. 0-2. No outs on the board, top third. Garcia sneaking up to the bag at second. He'll back off now as Sutherland is down on strikes.
Now batting the designated hitter, Robert Ferrugio.
So Sutherland goes down on the 0-2 count. And Robert Ferrugio steps in. He gave Sacred Heart the lead in the first inning. RBI single. That plated Emerson, actually, from third. He tried to hold up on that one. Did not, though. Ferrugio with a 143 batting average. Now has 3 RBIs on the season, thanks to his efforts in the first inning. Only 4 hits on the season, though, in 22 at-bats. That's fouled away. Count now 0-2. Sacred Heart's been on the end of some close losses. They've been on the end of 2 blowout losses. The one common denominator is they've had a hard time scoring runs. The 0-2 is bounced towards the shortstop on 2 bounces. Garcia with the look at second before firing the first. And that's 2 outs. Emerson not able to move up on the play, and Sam Mongelli will try to generate a little 2-out magic here for the Pioneers. Mongelli last night against the Hatters was 0 for 4. A couple of punch-outs. He struggled mightily in the game, and more than that way. That's inside for the strike. Mongelli was also responsible for 2 of Stetson's runs on a throwing error. To first, that would have ended the inning had the throw been clean, but instead it ended up plating 2 runs for Stetson, part of a 4-run 4th inning that allowed the Hatters to take control of the game. Emerson moving up to third on what I imagine will be ruled a wild pitch. It is. So 1-1 count here on Mongelli. His only at bat was in the first inning. Fielder's choice. Eventually stranded at first. The 1-1. And Lipthrat zooms that one in for strike 2. Lipthrat with 2 Ks in the game. Has yet to throw up a 0 on the scoreboard, though. He's got a shot here with Emerson dancing around third. The 1-2. He does it. Mongeli down by punch-out. That's the 3rd K for Lipthrat in this one. And finally holds the Sacred Heart Pioneers scoreless. Bethune will try to tie this ball game or take the lead when we come back here, bottom 3. Sacred Heart 2, Bethune-Cookman 1. You're watching Hatter Vision. We resume play here, bottom 3rd, Sacred Heart 2, Bethune-Cookman 1. Galen Rutledge, Colton Alasson getting their first cracks at the plate in this one. And then we cycle back to the top in Malik Stevens. Rutledge, the right fielder, holds up the bat there, 1-1 the count. And that offering across the plate, 1-2. Rutledge, making his 4th start of the year, only has 1 hit in 13 at-bats. Make it 1-14 as he goes down by K. And now Colton Alasson, the final of the position players in this game, to get his swing on at the plate. Alasson, 231 batting average, making his 9th start of the season. He has started all of Bethune-Cookman's games this year. That's in for the strike. Malik Stevens and Matthew Garcia can also say the same for BCU. And LeMay's 0-1 offering misses outside. That's strike 2 there. Alasson fouls that one off. Dante DeMori will watch that go well out of play. We got plenty of cloud cover here at Melching, but no threat of rain, according to the weather guys and gals. The 1-2 is fouled off again by Alasson. Staying alive here. Humidity pretty low, too, for a Florida day, 42%. 81 degrees at first pitch. Wind out of the east at 14 miles an hour, which by Melching field standards basically means you're going to see the wind kind of blow across the field from left field all the way towards the first base dugout. So basically anything hitting into left field will probably be caught up in the wind. The 1-2 is tapped towards second. Tim McGuire's there. And the freshman throws the first for out number 2.
For the center fielder, Malik Stevens.
And now back to the top here for BCU. Malik Stevens try to generate a little 2-out magic here. He's 0 for 1 in this game, grounding out to third base in the first inning. He has been BCU's main table setter, a real threat on the base paths, 12 bags stolen so far this year in 14 attempts. And goes swinging off of that one, goes foul. 0-1. Stevens, listed at 6'1", 185, a redshirt junior from Willow Springs, North Carolina. Bethune-Cookman has a lot of JUCOs on their team this year. They actually have 18 players on their roster from the JUCO ranks. Did that hit Stevens? He's acting like it did. And the men in blue agree. So Stevens reaching for the first time on a hit by pitch.
Now batting the shortstop, Matthew Garcia.
And as Garcia comes up to the plate, if you like your stolen bases, well, then pay close attention here, folks, because the way Stevens has been rolling this year, pretty much every time he's on the bag, he's looking to take second. He's staking himself out to about a 3-stride lead here, maybe 4. Garcia looking to drop the butt. Pulls back, though, 1-0. Interesting strategy there from Garcia, considering it's 2 outs. Demori at first base, trying to hold Stevens to the bag. There's a nice hole between first and second if Garcia wants to go for it. Stevens does go for it. And the hit and run was on. Foul tipped away. That one fairly close to our broadcast position, actually. Right near where the camera is located. The grandstands here at Melching are pretty protected, for the most part, from foul balls because of that netting that stretches all the way across the grandstands for the most part. But sometimes one can sneak over the top of the netting like it did right there. The 1-1 is fouled away. A couple of Pioneers making a game attempt, but no chance. That one's in the pen. Garcia's 0 for 1 in this game. Ryan LeMay with 3 punch-outs so far. Garcia was his first in the first inning. Stevens is going. The throw to second on the pitch out. Doesn't matter. Stevens took it anyway. So Stevens with his first stolen bag in this contest. And now a runner in scoring position here. If Garcia can somehow put this ball in play, which he does not, a lot of times when BCU has managed to get runs, Stevens has been an integral part of it with his legs. The 2-2 is fouled away again by Garcia, and that'll once again enter the Sacred Heart pen off the left field line. Garcia's a sophomore from St. Cloud, Florida. Another guy from the JUCO ranks coming to BCU from Chipola College. As you might imagine, this Bethune-Cookman roster chock full of Sunshine State players. That one's fouled away into the third base grandstands here. 24 from Florida, actually. Another 5 from Georgia, a couple from North Carolina, including 2-2 count here. And that will end the third inning.
And that's it for the bottom of the
Garcia down for the second time today by Kay. Give Ryan LeMay 4 punch-outs. And through 3 here at Melching, it's Sacred Heart 2, Bethune-Cookman 1. You're watching Higher Division. We're about a third of the way through here at Melching Field. Top of the fourth. Sacred Heart 2 runs on 6 hits, 1 error. 1-1 and 0 respectively for Bethune-Cookman as Lewis Lipthrat is back on the slab for his 4th inning of work. Managed to hold Sacred Heart scoreless in the third. Pioneers plating both their runs in the first and in the second, respectively, singles in each of those. 6, 7, and 8 here for Nick Restaino's team. Is Dante DeMore. Now looking at a 2-1 count. DeMore hit a first pitch double to start off the top of the second. Would eventually come around to score. His run's the difference in this game right now. And DeMore swings through that heater. We're almost an hour into this contest. It's moved along fairly quickly. And that one up the middle, but Lipthrat. Nice job snagging that one, and underhand throw to first makes it 1 out. So with 1 out here, we've got Ryan Donnelly, the senior left fielder. Donnelly reached on a bunt single in the second. Really more of a mental miscue from BCU than anything else. Excuse me, foul tip there from Donnelly. Donnelly dropping a decent bunt in front of the pitcher to move DeMore to third. And it would have been a sac bunt had someone been covering first base for Bethune-Cookman, but nobody was. So he managed to reach. Another foul tip there from Donnelly. Now 0-2. Fortunately for Bethune, that mental error didn't cost them, though. Donnelly was eventually taken out on a 4-6-3 double play. And Donnelly sees that one go by for a ball. Lipthrat seems to have settled down a little bit after a shaky start to his first 2 innings. The 2-2. And that's a K backward style. Give Lipthrat 4 punch-outs in this one, 2 outs on the board, and Tyler Galletti will step in, the sophomore catcher. Last time out for Lipthrat. Wasn't the cleanest of starts, but against a very solid hitting Florida Gulf Coast team. 3 earned runs on 5 hits and also had 5 punch-outs in that game. 0-1 the count now on Galletti. Bethune-Cookman has a whole lot of Atlantic Sun teams on their schedule this season. Stetson, of course, part of that conference, and Jacksonville, also an A-Sun squad who the Wildcats beat. Florida Gulf Coast coming into Daytona Beach and taking all 3 games of that weekend series. Galletti pops this up in the center. Shouldn't be too much trouble for Malik Stevens. It's not. And for the first time in this one, Lipthrat sends the Pioneers down in order. Bottom of the 4th coming up. His Wildcats still trail by 1. You're watching Hatter Vision. Bethune-Cookman's big first baseman, Kobe Tweeten, will lead us off here. Bottom of the 4th, Boris Pena, Irvin Escobar right behind him. And LeMay fires in for a ball, 1-0. Tweeten is 0 for 1 in this game, grounding out to second base in the first inning. And he lays off that one to make the count 1-1. Sacred Heart 2, Bethune-Cookman 1. Sacred Heart looking for their second win of the season. Tweeten pops this up in the center. Drifting towards the gap, and Jordan makes the grab.
Now batting left fielder, Boris Pena.
And as you can tell there by the wind, any pop-up is going to be somewhat of a tougher challenge than normal for these outfielders today, with that wind gusting steady around 14 miles an hour out of the east. That's going to make any ball that hangs up like that kind of a challenge, especially anything hitting the left. Pena swings through that one for a strike, 1 ball, 1 strike to count. In other words, this is not the day to be stroking balls in the left field, especially if you're a fan of home runs, because that wind is not going to help. The 1-1 is fouled away, 1-2 to count. If we see any dingers in this one, it's probably going to be heading out to right field. That's usually how it works at Melching. LeMay missing high there, 2-2. Now the count on Pena, who has a single in this game. Eventually plated Bethune-Cookman's only run off a throwing error partially by the pitcher. And now looking at a full count here. Brian Perez's RBI sac fly to right field is what in reality drove Pena home. And this one's popped up high. Foul territory near the first base dugout. And Demori makes the grab.
Now batting the catcher, Urban Escobar.
And Urban Escobar will step in now. Escobar wears number 22, 6', 205 freshman from Puerto Rico. Check swing there. Manages to hold up 1-0. He is the only Boricua on the roster for Bethune-Cookman, actually. It's a bit of international flavor, although, of course, Puerto Rico technically not international for the United States. But there is another player from the Dominican on the roster. Escobar fouls this one off. That'll drift towards Hatter Hill, well out of play. The 2-2 is up the middle, past a diving Tim McGuire, and into center field. So Escobar reaching for the first time today on that 2-2 single, and it'll be Brian Perez now who steps in. He who has driven in Bethune's only run in this game. His sac fly RBI plating Pena in the second inning. That one foul tipped by Perez to the backstop. Perez, another one of the Florida guys on this BCU roster, Miami in his particular case. Also a transfer from the JUCO level. South Florida State College is where he came from. This Bethune-Cookman team is really very changed from the last edition that took the diamond in 2020. BCU did not play at all last year due to the COVID pandemic. Perez down swinging for strike three. So, LeMay gets himself another punch out. That's 5 in the game for him. As of right now, he's looking good. Lipthrat has managed to overcome a bit of a shaky start. He'll trot out there for another inning of work. We head to the top of the 5th. Sacred Heart leading by the slimmest of margins. You're watching Hatter Vision. Tim McGuire, the freshman second baseman, will lead us off here for Sacred Heart. We're through 4 at Melching. Sacred Heart with the 2-1 lead over Bethune-Cookman. We thank you for joining us for this non-Stetson game here on Hatter Vision. I'm Assad Bendian. 1-0. Swung through by McGuire. 1-1 now the count. McGuire, his only at bat he reached, single in the second. And that one fouled away and out of play. So the count now 1-2 on McGuire, a freshman from Rhode Island. Bounced towards first. Tweeton's there. Easy play for him. Now we cycle back to the top here in Justin Jordan. And that one missing low. 1-0. Lipthrat looking to keep Sacred Heart scoreless for the third inning in a row. Outside of the first 2. Bit of a shaky start for him, but so far, still on his way to a quality start. Although he is on the losing end right now as Jordan fouls that one off sharply. All the way to the parking lot that's off the left field line. Jordan in this game is 0 for 2. He K'd in the first, popped out the center in the second. And he'll foul that one off again. Jordan, a guy who is among the top draft prospects in the Northeast Conference this year, according to various college baseball experts. Him and Chase Jeter, probably the 2 most likely Pioneers to get drafted once the season wraps up. As Lipthrat bounces that one in front of the plate. We saw Jeter last night, of course. He took the loss in the game against Stetson. Sacred Heart starting on a 6-game losing streak in 2022 as Jordan flares that one out towards shallow left. It'll be Matthew Garcia, the sophomore, who snags that one, though.
Now batting the third baseman, Joe Emerson.
And after that, full count popper. It'll be Joe Emerson who steps up with 2 outs on the board. Lipthrat has now retired 8 Pioneers in a row here. Emerson is one guy he's had trouble getting out, though. He's 2 for 2 in this game. Single in the first, double in the third. And he made the motion like he was going to bunt, then backed away, though. The 0-1 is what we'll be looking at coming up here. Colby Tweeton at first was charging hard there. And that one now hit opposite field. Galen Rutledge backing up. He'll make the grab. And for the second inning in a row, Lipthrat sends the Pioneers down 1-2-3. Bottom of the 5th coming up. Sacred Heart leading by 1. You're watching Hatter Vision.
Soufrain.
Bottom of the lineup card here for Jonathan Hernandez and his Bethune-Cookman Wildcats as they look to end this Sacred Heart lead. First pitch from Soufrain is a flare into left center, and that will not be caught. Seeing eye popper there means Soufrain's on board for the first time in this game. I don't know if Jordan got a great read off that ball. Sutherland was actually the one who was going for it, but he was pretty far away. I suspect that wind is causing more problems for the outfielders than maybe we realize, as Galen Rutledge will step in now. That wind is swirling around nicely out there, again gusting at around 14 to 15 miles an hour. Actually, excuse me, let me clarify there. It's actually sustained at around 14 miles an hour. It'll be gusting a little higher than that, though. So those poppers in the outfield might be a bit adventurous for both sides, especially for a squad like Sacred Heart that is playing their first games of the year in Florida. A lot of northern teams, because of the weather, love to come down to the south to start their season. Sacred Heart didn't exactly do that, though. First game of the year was in New York City, actually. They took on Fordham. Then played 4 in Virginia. The 0-2. Missing high there on Rutledge. So the count now 1-2 for him. And those Virginia games, they played 2 neutral site ones against the University of St. Thomas, losing both of them 2-0 and 3-2 respectively. That one bounced right in front of the mound. LeMay with the throw to first, and Rutledge with the sack bunt does his job. Soufrain moving over to second. Runner in scoring position here for Colton Alasson. And I wonder if we're gonna. Looks like we're gonna see a pinch runner here for BCU. Yoancel Diaz now at second base. He's coming in for Soufrain. The DH getting an early call to the showers here.
Joining at second base for number 16, Benny Soufrain. Number 3, Yoancel Diaz.
Diaz is a two-way guy on Bethune's roster. He'll be running here as that one's tapped into right center. No hesitation from the third base coach. Diaz charging all the way home. And we are tied. Alasson with the RBI single. We are now knotted at 2. First pitch he saw. Tapping that one in the right center. And almost as quickly as he got on the field, Yoancel Diaz is now off it. But Bethune has tied the game as a result, looking to take the lead now as Malik Stevens steps in. Top of the lineup here for the Wildcats, who are looking for their 3rd win of the season. 3-1 over Youngstown on opening day was their first win of the year, then lost their next 6. The Penguins actually came back and took the next 2 in that 3-game series, both by 1 run. And then Bethune dropping a midweeker to FIU before they got spanked by Florida Gulf Coast last weekend at home. The 1-1 is flared into right center again, and it'll also drop. That's going to be a double for Stevens for sure, and Alasson's going to be held up at third. So give Stevens his first double in this one. And Alasson now at third, which means runners in scoring position with 1 out on the board, and it'll be Matthew Garcia's job to bring him in. Stevens doing a nice job going oppo on that 1-1 pitch. And we're going to see a visit to the mound here for Sacred Heart. Wayne Mazzoni, their pitching coach, will have a chat with LeMay, who's already over 80 pitches at this point in the contest. We do have action in the pen for Sacred Heart. Looks like we got a righty warming. Not exactly sure who it is that's warming up for Sacred Heart right now. Regardless, it won't matter right now, as Wayne Mazzoni will leave LeMay in the game. It's been a relatively clean effort for LeMay so far. He's only given up a run in the second prior to this fifth inning, but Bethune with a chance here to put up a crooked number, and they'll do just that. As Garcia strokes that in the right field, one run across the score, another run coming to the plate, the throw is not in time! Stevens coming in as well, and it's 4-2 BCU. So Matthew Garcia with the 2 RBI single gives the Wildcats their first lead in this game. Kobe Tweeden will now step in. So Colton Alasson scoring from third. Malik Stevens on his horse rode it all the way in from second. And Garcia reaching for the first time in this game. He was 0 for 2 prior to that with a couple of strikeouts in the first and in the third. Kobe Tweeden, like Garcia, has also struggled at the plate in this one. He's 0 for 2. Ground out to second base in the first inning. He popped out to center in the fourth. And the big man goes swinging at that one. Low and outside, though. Garcia will stretch the lead here. From first base, I mean. And he'll be able to get the second as that one bounced away from Galletti. Officially scored a wild pitch. And that's the first one to LeMay in this game. 1-2. Tweeden holds up again, and once again, Galletti having trouble getting that ball in the glove. Bethune-Cookman with 3 runs so far in the fifth. The most either side has scored at the plate so far in 1 inning. And Tweeden may add to it. That's a liner to right field. It's Sutherland who makes the grab, though. Throw towards third as the runner's going, but the throw is offline. So Garcia with the head first slide into the third. So Tweeden's out is at least a productive one. And it'll be Boris Pena with 2 outs here to try to drive Garcia in. Pena in this game is 1 for 2. Singled in the second. And eventually scored Bethune's first run of the game in the second. Popped out in foul territory his last time up. First pitch into the hole between short and third, and that'll be an RBI. Garcia trots in from third, and it is now 5-2 BCU.
Now the catcher, Urban Escobar.
Urban Escobar coming up to the dish now. He becomes the 8th Wildcat to come to the plate, and he'll be looking at a new pitcher. Wayne Mazzoni making the trip to the mound, Ryan LeMay's day will come to an end. We'll have a new arm on the mound for Sacred Heart. We'll let you know who when we come back. BCU with 4 runs so far in this bottom of the 5th. And with 2 outs on the board, they'll try to stretch it. Bethune-Cookman 5, Sacred Heart 2. You're watching Hatter Vision. So it'll be one senior right-hander replacing another. Tyler Briggs, number 31, will enter this contest for the Pioneers. His job to stop the bleeding. Bethune-Cookman's already put up 4 in this bottom of the 5th. And they still got a runner on first here with 2 outs. As Irvin Escobar lets the first pitch in high, 1-0. Boris Pena dancing around at first. His RBI single plating Matthew Garcia. Garcia's 2 RBI single, the big hit so far for BCU in this inning. As Briggs fires in for the strike. Briggs, 6'2", 215 is how he stands. From Franklin, Connecticut. A transfer from the University of Connecticut. He'll fire that one low. 2-1 the count now. Sacred Heart, in case you're wondering, is from Connecticut. Fairfield, to be precise. Member of the Northeast Conference. One of the programs that's expected to be among the top of the conference by the end of the season, according to the experts. Preseason coaches poll as well. But Sacred Heart's definitely going to have to face some stiff competition if they want to win the NEC's auto bid. The Bryant Bulldogs, defending champions, and they've been off to a red-hot start in 2022. Escobar now looking at a 2-2 count. Bryant this weekend playing at Old Dominion. The Monarchs with a 6-3 lead in today's game, bottom third. Central Connecticut scoring a win over Navy. Speaking of NEC teams, 5-2 final there. Merrimack College taking on the 19th-ranked Texas Tech Red Raiders. T-Tech up 7-1 there, bottom 6. And we're going to look at a full count here for Escobar. Also another score to note here in the NEC. Fairleigh Dickinson trailing Manhattan 5-1, bottom 9. Looks like the Jaspers are well on their way to win that one. The payoff. Runner was going, didn't matter because it bounced in front of the plate. So Escobar draws the walk.
Now batting the third baseman, Brian Perez.
And Perez becomes the 9th batter at the plate for BCU. There are only 2 outs so far. Galen Rutledge on a sac bunt. And Kobe Tweeton on a line out the center. That did end up moving a runner, though, so it was at least a productive out. As was Rutledge's bunt, of course. And Perez will look at a 1-0 count here on his next pitch. He had the first RBI in the game for BCU. Sac fly in the second. He K'd in the fourth. 1-0. That's a strike. The throw to first. It's a bit offline. Demori actually did a really nice job to even keep that ball in front of him. Irvin Escobar's dive almost knocked him off his feet. Briggs, a couple of looks at second, and now delivers the 1-1, goes between the legs of Galletti. The catcher's going to have to run all the way to the backstop, and both of BCU's runners will take advantage. So Pena now at third, Escobar now at second, on what I imagine will be the second wild pitch officially for Sacred Heart pitching in this game. It is. Bethune-Cookman has already plated 1 run in this inning on 2 outs. They've got the shot to do more. 2-1 the count. And the fastball misses inside. 3-1 now on Perez. We're going to see a pinch hitter coming in. If Pena manages to either get on board or he will probably not. That's a nice pick there from Angeli to retire the side finally, but a costly inning there for Sacred Heart. BCU putting up 4 runs in that bottom of the 5th, and we head to the top of the 6th for the first time. BCU with the lead in this one. 5-2, BCU over Sacred Heart. You're watching Hatter Vision. Three, 4, and 5 here for Sacred Heart. As they're now trailing for the first time in this game. Down 3 runs here to BCU in the top of the 6th. Lewis Lipthrat got off to a bit of a shaky start, but he's been throwing up zeros from the third inning on. The sophomore fires, and that's at the knees of Sutherland. 1-1 the count now. Sutherland is 0 for 2 in this game. Ground out to first base in the first inning. Cade his last time up in the third, as Lipthrat bounces that one off the dirt. I think time was called there, actually, prior to the pitch. Nope, it's going to count. So it's a ball. 2-1 now the count on Sutherland. And he'll foul that out of play, so make it 2-2 now. Lipthrat, playing for Clark State Community College last year, was primarily a starter for them. Ended up finishing the year with a 3-2 record. Racked up a decent amount of Ks as well. 58 strikeouts and 38 in the third innings pitched. 4.46 ERA. Played his freshman season at Earlham College, so this is his first experience at the D1 level. And that's up the middle, but towards the shortstop. Garcia gathers. 1 out.
Now batting designated hitter, Robert Ferrugio.
So Sutherland officially 0 for 3 in this one, as Robert Ferrugio steps in. He gave Sacred Heart the lead early in this one. RBI single in the first, grounding out to the shortstop in the third. It's been tough sledding for Sacred Heart offensively ever since the third inning, as a matter of fact. Lipthrat has retired the last 10 Pioneers, as Ferrugio fouls that away. Emerson's double in the third inning was the last time we've even seen a Pioneer get on base. The 1-1 from Lipthrat is low. 2-1 the count now. Lipthrat sets up first base side, and that one is popped up. That'll go out of play. Game attempt there from Galen Rutledge in right field, but the way that wind is blowing, he's got no shot at that. Blowing well towards the hitting pavilion, right off the right field line. If you can see the flagpole, look at the way the flags are moving right now. It is gusting hard. The 2-2. And that is a punch-out.
Now batting the shortstop, Sam Mongelli.
So give Lipthrat 5 on the day and 2 outs on the board here, as shortstop Sam Mongelli will step in. Sacred Heart will call it quits for today after this game. Bethune-Cookman will face Stetson later tonight. 6:30 first pitch, as that ball is fouled off Mongelli's foot. Stumbled badly out of the blocks there for that very reason. Both these teams have had 6-game losing streaks. Actually, correction. Bethune is the only one with a 6-game losing streak at one point this season. Sacred Heart started off the year 0-5 before getting their win against Stony Brook on Wednesday, which so far is the Pioneers' only win. Mongelli fouling that one off, 0-2 now, the count. Mongelli did reach on a fielder's choice in the first. He K'd the last time up in the third, though. And Lipthrat thought that was strike 3. So did the rest of his team. Brian Van Vranken had a wrinkle in store, though. He's going to want one more. Lipthrat already with 5 punch-outs on the day. He wants 6. He won't get it there. Sacred Heart's going to be hanging around Florida for a little bit after this weekend comes to an end. The 2-2 is popped up. Shallow center. Take your pick who's going to get it. It'll be Matthew Garcia, the shortstop.
Going in the top of the 6th inning, so we go to the bottom of the 6th. Your score remains Wildcats 5, Pioneers 2.
So Lipthrat has now retired the last 12 Pioneer batters he's faced. And if that's the way his day ends, it'll be on a high note. We head to the bottom of the 6th. Bethune-Cookman holding a 3-run lead. You're watching Hatter Vision. Resuming play here, bottom of the 6th. The grounds crew here at Stetson having to do a little bit of repair work to the mound, specifically the slab area.
Your attention, please. Pitch hitting in the number 7 position.
So finally we get back underway here.
Diaz, number 12, Jeremy Garcia.
And it'll be Jeremy Garcia who steps in for his first at-bats of the game. The lefty in the DH spot in the order. First pitch from Briggs is fouled away. Just to the left of our broadcast position here, 0-1 the count. Garcia coming in officially for Yoancel Diaz, who pinch ran for Manny Soufrain after he got his single to start the 5th inning. Soufrain's single starting off a 4-run explosion for BCU. That's given them the lead. The count now 1-1 on Garcia. A freshman from St. Cloud, Florida, 5'10", 170. St. Cloud not too far away from where we're at. The fastball misses outside, 2-1 the count. St. Cloud is fairly close to Kissimmee, and Kissimmee is fairly close to Orlando, for those of you who don't know your Florida geography. Popped up and out of play. It's essentially around the area where Disney World is located, to make it easier on you. Garcia, one of the rare Wildcats who's not a JUCO transfer, played his high school ball at Harmony High. BCU with 18 JUCO transfers this year. They actually had a top 50 class in terms of junior college players recruited. The highest ranking in their history. They actually came in at number 48, according to JBB. And they're a team that needed it because they do not have a lot of players coming back. As a matter of fact, they only have 8 total that are back on this BCU roster from 2020. And Garcia is down swinging. So Briggs notches his first K in this game. And with 1 out on the board, it's Galen Rutledge. A handful of college baseball teams did not play last year due to the pandemic. BCU was one of them. Then in the MEAC, as Rutledge holds up there. And officially, Bethune-Cookman's final year in the MEAC, actually. They are now members of the SWAC, and they'll be making their conference debut fairly soon. 2-0 count now on Rutledge, who K'd in the third, dropped the sack bunt to move runners over in the 5th inning. Every member of this Wildcat squad came up to the plate. That's in the lineup, that is. Count now 2-1 on Rutledge. Bethune-Cookman making the move to the SWAC along with their heated rivals in Tallahassee, Florida A&M. Both of them the now Florida outpost of the SWAC. These days, the premier HBCU conference, the 3-1, is fouled away sharply towards the first base grandstands, and that actually bounces back onto the field of play. So we're looking at a full count here on Rutledge when play resumes. Here's the payoff. And Rutledge holds up. Ball 4. He almost went. And I think Sacred Heart may have wanted to argue that call, but I don't really think they could have. So Colton Alasson will step in here. He got the scoring started for BCU in the 5th, his RBI single, plating Yoancel Diaz, tying the game at 2. He would eventually come around to score himself on the 2 RBI single from Matthew Garcia later that inning. And Galen Rutledge is picked off at first. First pickoff of the game for either side. And all that before Alasson even sees his first pitch in this inning. He does there, and it's roped in the right field.
To the top of the order for the center fielder, Malik Stevens.
So give BCU their 8th hit in this contest. BCU's been pretty decent in this game with 2 outs, though. And Malik Stevens, it'll now be up to him. He has a swipe in this game already, his 13th of the season. Takes a big cut at that one. 0-1 now the count. Bethune-Cookman, 5 runs on 8 hits, no errors, 2, 6, and 1 respectively for Sacred Heart. BCU grabbing the lead in the bottom of the 5th after Sacred Heart held it pretty much from the jump. Stevens now looking at an 0-2 count after that big cut. Both of Sacred Heart's runs coming early, one in the first, one in the second. Bethune managed to scratch one back in the second before their 4-run explosion in the 5th. The 0-2 is fouled away. Colton Alasson took a real huge lead off of first and actually was kind of caught in between there. If Stevens had not swung, they may very well have picked Alasson off at the bag, assuming, of course, it wasn't a strike 3. The 0-2 again, and again Stevens fouls it off. This game moving along pretty quickly. About an hour and 45 into this contest. Throw over to first there again from Briggs. And since we were mentioning Florida A&M earlier, just want to mention something that'll probably make a few BCU fans happy. Rattlers losing the Ball State today, 7-4. One other final of note in the SWAC. Mention that in a second here as that one is popped up into left center. It'll be Jordan who makes the catch, and the side is retired. But before we go to the top of the 7th, just want to mention real quickly that other score, Mississippi Valley 16, Arkansas Pine Bluff 9. That's the only other final today in the SWAC. There's other games being played, though. I'll mention them to you as time permits. But for now, we head to the top of the 7th. It is Bethune-Cookman with the 5-2 lead over Sacred Heart. You're watching Howder Vision.
Leading off the top of the 7th, the first baseman, Dante DeMore.
Dante DeMore will lead us off here for Sacred Heart. Top of the 7th. Pioneers trailing by 3 runs. Lewis Lipthrat back on the bump. He's retired 12 Sacred Heart batters in a row. Rebounding nicely after giving up a run to the Pioneers in the first and in the second. That one low to DeMore. 1-1 the count now. DeMore is 1 for 2 in this game. He doubled the very first pitch he saw in the second inning. Eventually came around to score. Held up there, 2-1 now the count. DeMore actually coming in after Tyler Galletti hit into a 4-6-3 double play. 2-1 is low again. We haven't seen a Pioneer reach base since Joe Emerson in the third when he stroked his double. The only 2 extra base hits for Sacred Heart in this one. And Lipthrat gets the strike call on the inside. So full count here. Lipthrat is close to 80 pitches in this game. That one bounced towards third. Charging is Perez to throw to first. They're going to say that Demore is out. Kobe Tweeten definitely struggled keeping that ball in the glove, though, but Shannon Jernigan at first felt that it was in there long enough. There was definitely some bobbling going on. Regardless, that's now 13 Pioneers retired in a row here as Ryan Donnelly steps in. No one even warming up for BCU in the pen right now, so they look very comfortable sticking with Lipthrat, who's now over 80 pitches in this game. And really, it's been smooth sailing from him from the third inning on. Ryan Donnelly now looking at a 2-0 count. Reached on a butt single in the second. Backwards K in the fourth. And hits that hard in the right field, but Galen Rutledge, that ball hit the ground. Rutledge lost that one, I think, or maybe just misjudged it. Regardless, it falls in for a single. And the streak of Pioneers retired ends at 13 with that hit. So Tyler Galletti will step in. He's 0 for 2 in this game officially. We've only seen one double play. He grounded into it back in the second, 4-6-3 style. Also popped out the center to end the fourth. Galletti's double play, though, did drive in the final run for Sacred Heart, even though he wasn't officially credited with the RBI, because that's how baseball scoring works. But Demore did come in to score on the play. Donnelly, a senior from Fairfield, Connecticut, where Sacred Heart is located. Holds up there. And now he's looking at an 0-2 count for his trouble. Galletti getting his first action this weekend behind the dish. Joey Scarad got the start behind the plate for Sacred Heart last night in a game where the Pioneers struggled to get anything going against Stetson's Dominic Stagliano. Making his first start as a Hatter, he got the win, pitching 6 2/3 ball, only allowing the one unearned run. We got another double play here. Galletti, for the second time in this game, retired, that time 6-4-3. So even though his streak of retired batters in a row comes to an end at 13, Lipthrat still manages to go 1-2-3 thanks to that double play ball for the fourth inning in a row. Time to stretch here at Melching. Wildcats 5, Sacred Heart 2. You're watching Hatter Vision. Bethune-Cookman looking comfortable for their third win of the year, although we are by no means out of the woods yet there. As we enter the bottom of the seventh, it's BCU 5, Sacred Heart 2. Thank you for joining us in this non-Stetson broadcast here on Hatter Vision. I'm Assad Bendian. Both these teams getting their neutral site action on this weekend, as Matthew Garcia swings for a strike there, 0-1. Garcia had the big hit in the fifth. 2 RBI single, goes oppo there, but right into the glove of Ryan Donnelly in left field.
And now the first baseman, Kobe Tweeton.
And now Kobe Tweeton will step in. One of only 2 Wildcats not to reach in this contest so far. Brian Perez, the third baseman's the other. Tweeton's 0 for 3. Grounder, pop out, and a line out, respectively. The grounder to second, the other 2 to center. Like a lot of the Wildcats, it's been a rough start to the year for Tweeton. Entering today with a 100 batting average. Now lets that one go by for strike 2. Tweeton updating it with this game stats. He's now 2 for 23 on the season. One of those hits a double, though, and that one stroked in the center. Jordan's not going to have to move too much to make that catch. And that's now 2 outs on the board. So second at bat in a row for Tweeton, lining out to the center fielder. And now Boris Pena will come up here. Pena also had an RBI single in the fifth. 1 of 2 in the game for him. The other one coming in the second. He would eventually plate the first run of this game for BCU off the RBI sac fly from Brian Perez. And Pena foul tips that one as it goes smashing hard into the backstop padding here. Bethune-Cookman doing a double dip today. They'll be facing off against Stetson. 6:30 first pitch. We'll have it for you here on Hatter Vision if you're not going to be coming to the game. Sacred Heart will be the ones doing the double dip tomorrow. They'll face off against BCU again. 11 o'clock first pitch tomorrow. Another game we'll have for you here on Hatter Vision. Count now 1-2 on Pena. And then it'll be Sacred Heart and Stetson after that for a 3 o'clock scheduled first pitch here at Melching. And then again after that, Sacred Heart and Stetson will do battle, but it'll be on Tuesday night, 6:30, as Pena is down looking. And that's just the second time that a Bethune-Cookman Wildcat has gone down looking. We are through 7 here at Melching. BCU with the 5-2 lead. Top of the 8th coming up on Hatter Vision. bottom of the lineup here for Sacred Heart as we get back into action here. Lipthrat firing the strike to Tim McGuire. 0-1 now the count. McGuire is 1 for 2 in this game as Lipthrat bounced that off the dirt. Lipthrat, by the way, nearing the 90 pitch count mark. It'll be interesting to see how much further he goes in this one. The 1-1 is popped well out of play. Count now 1-2 on McGuire. Considering he's entering the 8th inning, 90 pitches roughly, that's not too bad usage so far from Lipthrat, but I have to imagine that you're going to see at least some action in the BCU pen at some point. We haven't seen it yet, though. The 1-2 misses outside. 2-2 to count now on McGuire. Of course, probably part of that is the fact that BCU will be playing Stetson later this evening. I'm sure Coach Hernandez is wanting to save that pen if he can. That's a flare in the infield, and Brian Perez lost track of it. That one fisted off the end of the bat. That'll be a single for McGuire, his second of the game. It's a weak popper in the infield, and Perez just lost track of it, it looks like. He tried to bring it in, and the ball went right by him. Should have been an easy out. Instead, no, they're going to rule out they're going to rule out an error, actually, on Perez. So not a single for McGuire. That's BCU's first error in this game. First pitch for Jordan. Flared in the left field. That's going to drift foul. Boris Pena with a nice attempt to get that one, but he won't get there. I guess the scorers saw that ball hit Perez's arm somehow, or maybe the glove. I didn't see it from my angle, but the scorers table probably would have had a better angle than me, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there as Lipthrat fires high. Count now 1-1 on Justin Jordan. Top of the lineup card here for Sacred Heart. Jordan's 0 for 3 in this game. He's popped out twice. He's K'd once. That one hit to the third baseman. And Perez did a nice job just stopping that ball from going into the corner. But that's all he was able to do. As Jordan will reach on what I imagine will be a hit. It is.
Now batting the third baseman, Joe Emerson.
So you've got Tim McGuire now at second. And Justin Jordan now at first. We are in the top of the 8th here. Pioneers trailing by 3 runs, but they've got the tying run at the plate now in Joe Emerson. No outs on the board here. And it doesn't look like Sacred Heart is thinking about any kind of a sack play as Emerson keeps the bat on the shoulder. 0-1. Emerson's had 2 hits on the day, single in the first, doubled in the third. He came around to score in the first. His last time out, he popped out to right field. The 0-1, Emerson backs off. 1 ball, 1 strike to count now for the senior from Carlstadt, New Jersey. Emerson learning a new position this year at third. He's primarily been an outfielder for Sacred Heart before this year. 1-1, and Emerson lets that go. Emerson also one of the captains on this roster, one of 3. The other 2 are pitchers, Chase Jeter, last night's starter, and Ryan LeMay, this game's starter for Sacred Heart. A check swing, and Brian Van Vranken says Emerson went around. Some of the Pioneer fans not too happy about that. We've got a smattering of fans from both sides watching this one. Two and two to count now on Emerson. And that one tapped in the center. On the run is Stevens backing up. He'll make the grab. Runners moving, or at least the runner at second is. And McGuire hustles his way to third. Justin Jordan had to stay at first. And with one out on the board, it's George Sutherland who will get the chance now. We've got a visit to the mound here. Joel Sanchez, VCU's pitching coach, out there to have a chat with Lipthrat. This looks to be a strategy thing. Although I do see some players warming up in the BCU pen, so it looks like we're going to have somebody throwing before too long. Lipthrat now at 100 pitches in this game.
Now batting the right fielder, George Sutherland.
George Sutherland will step in here. Right fielder, graduate. From East Northport, New York. Sutherland, the only one of the four graduates on this roster who's a transfer. Taps that one hard and past the first baseman. That'll play to run for the Pioneers. Jordan rounding second. He'll get the third. And the RBI single drives in Tim McGuire. It's now 5-3 BCU.
The batting designated hitter, Robert Ferrugio.
And now Ferrugio, who drove in Sacred Heart's first run in this game, has the chance to do more than that right here. That RBI single in the first is only hit so far. Reached out to foul tip that away. Lipthrat already with a season high in innings pitched as he throws over to first. He won 7 innings in the win against Youngstown State on opening day. Gave up 3 hits, no earned runs, and 6 Ks versus 2 walks. Very efficient performance. Struggled a little more his last time out against Gulf Coast. The 0-1 is tapped right up the middle, and that's the shortstop who's got it. The throw to first is in time. And Ferrugio's retired, but another run comes in. Justin Jordan from third, and Sacred Heart is now 1 run away from tying this game. It's 5-4.
Now batting the shortstop, Sam Mongelli.
Sutherland moves up to second on the play. So he now represents the tying run, and looks like that's it for Lipthrat. That was a quick warm-up. We're going to see a new BCU pitcher in the game. So Lipthrat's day is done. At one point, retiring 13 straight Pioneers, but unless his teammates can pick him up, he may very well end up with the no decision. But a stellar performance, I'd say, regardless. And it'll be BCU's main reliever but will try to shut the door here. Nicholas Billings is on the slab. We'll tell you more about him when he come back. Wildcats trying to protect a one-run lead. You're watching Hatter Vision. Nicholas Billings, number 28 for BCU, making his 4th appearance of the season. He has been the number 1 option for the Wildcats out of the pen this year. He's yet to give up an earned run. 8 innings pitched. He's allowed 6 hits. Opponents batting .194 against him. And BCU is trying to protect a 1-run lead as Sam Mongelli's at the plate. First pitch to him is a strike. Mongelli's only reached once in this game. It came on a fielder's choice to end the first. Cade in the 3rd, popped out to short in the 6th. Lewis Lipthrat potentially in line for the win, but only if Billings can get the Pioneers here. And Mongelli badly fooled by that breaker. Count now 0-2. Mongelli, a junior shortstop from Marlboro, New York. He's been a regular in the lineup this year for Sacred Heart. The 0-2, Mongelli thought maybe he had gone down on the check swing, but Shannon Jernigan at first. On the appeal, says he did not move around, so count still 1-2 on Mongelli. Mongelli making his 7th start of the year. He's played in every game. He started in all but 1 game. Here's the 1-2. Bouncing in front of the plate. Bethune-Cookman 5, Sacred Heart 4. It's been a back and forth battle. Sacred Heart grabbing the lead early and holding a 1-run lead for the most part until Bethune-Cookman put up 4 in the 5th. And it's been the Wildcats since, but Sacred Heart has put up 2 so far in this top of the 8th after 5 straight zeros. And if Mongelli can somehow get a hit into the outfield, we may very well see a tied game. You've got Sutherland on second. He's dancing around. The 2-2 hit towards third base. Gathered up by Perez. And the throw across the diamonds in time. So Mongelli is retired, and Lewis Lipthrat looking comfortable for the win, but BCU will have at least one more chance here to stretch their one-run lead. Bottom of the 8th coming up on Hatter Vision. Five, 6, and 7 here for BCU as they look to extend their one-run lead before the top of the 9th. Urban Escobar, Brian Perez, Jeremy Garcia due up here for Jonathan Hernandez and his Wildcats. Briggs fires the strike in. Escobar in this game has reached twice. Single in the 4th, walked in the 5th. And he'll let that by for a strike. And the Puerto Rican now down 0-2. Briggs firing inside there. A little chin music for Escobar to deal with. Officially, Escobar is 1 for 2 in this game. His first at bat, he popped out in the right field. And Escobar lays off that one. Escobar, one of 11 freshmen on this Bethune roster. This team very, very heavy in underclassmen. 11 freshmen, 20 sophomores. And almost all of the sophomores are redshirts. The 2-2. And we're going to see a full count here on Escobar. This Bethune-Cookman team has no graduate players and no seniors. 5 juniors. Obviously, a lot of those players taking the redshirt year, partly due to COVID, as Escobar fouls that off, but also in large part because a lot of them are transfers from the junior college level. This BCU team didn't play at all last season due to the pandemic, and they only have maybe 7 or 8 players on this roster who were here in 2020, as Escobar fouls that away. They actually have 8 officially, only 7 of which actually played in 2020, when BCU went 6-12 that season before the pandemic ruined everything. Here's your payoff, and Escobar is down swinging.
Batting the third baseman, Brian Perez.
So by my count, that is now 7 Ks. For Sacred Heart pitching, 1 out on the board here for Brian Perez. Perez in this game is yet to reach. Him and Tweeten, the only Wildcats who've not gone on board in this contest. He's officially 0 for 2. Check swing, appeal to first, and Shannon Jernigan denies the appeal, so 2-0 count to Perez. Did have an RBI on a sac fly in the 2nd. Cade in the 4th, grounded out to short to end the fifth inning. An inning where the Wildcats put up most of the runs they've scored in this game, 4 to be precise. 2-0, and Perez lets that one go by, so 3-0 the count now. As of this moment, Boris Peña's RBI single in the fifth inning is the difference in this game. That's the game-winning run. The 3-0 is way high, and Perez is aboard for the first time this game on a 4-pitch walk. So Jeremy Garcia will get his second AB in this game.
Jeremy Garcia.
BCU looking to make it 2 wins in a row following their midweek victory at home over the Jacksonville Dolphins. BCU has a lot of Atlantic Sun opponents early in the schedule. Not necessarily unusual for them. Of course, the Atlantic Sun has a fair amount of Florida representation, not just Stetson. Briggs' pitch is high. And BCU has played 2 of the other ASUN Florida schools already this year. Jacksonville, of course, in the midweek. And BCU hosted Florida Gulf Coast last weekend over at the Jack, which is how the locals call Jackie Robinson Ballpark in Daytona. Cool facility if you've never been there. I highly recommend it. It's a real throwback type of place. The 1-0. That's in for the strike. As a matter of fact, Jackie Robinson Ballpark is on the list of, I forget the exact terminology, but basically it's a historical landmark, and it's on like the main list. That's that ball getting away from the catcher, Galletti, and Perez will move up as a result. I imagine that'll be a wild pitch all the way. It'll be a 2-1 count here for Garcia. And it is indeed a wild pitch. Third one for Sacred Heart pitching so far. And Galletti will have a chat with Briggs here. Try to come to an agreement of the minds, so to speak. I believe the official phrase I was trying to think of was the National Register of Historic Places or something like that. But regardless, the Jack's a facility where you can really get to experience baseball in a very old school type of way. You don't have like a lot of the fanciness that you see now. I don't know if fanciness is quite the right word, but it doesn't look like you would expect a baseball stadium to look. It's very much a throwback to the old days where you got a big grandstand area off the third base line. The 2-1 is popped up in the center. Justin Jordan should have this one fairly easily. Let's see if Perez will go. He will not. And the throw to third is offline, and that's going to allow Perez to move up. Man, that was not the way Sacred Heart had drawn it up. The throw was a bit hard to handle for the infield, so Perez is able to move up, and I imagine that will be an error. I would imagine on Jordan on the throw, but we'll see, as Galen Rutledge will now step in. Yep, that will officially be an error. Once I get confirmation on who exactly, I'll let you know, but I would imagine Jordan on the throw. And Briggs fires that in for the strike. Bethune-Cookman looking to stretch their one-run lead to 2 here with 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th. Rutledge swinging through that breaker. Count now 0-2 on him. Perez now sitting on third. Reaching on a walk, then a wild pitch, then moving up on a throwing error. The 0-2. And Rutledge is down on the breaker. So give another K to Sacred Heart pitching. They're 8th in this contest. But they now need a run. As we head to the top of the 9th, it'll be Nicholas Billings who will try to shut the door here for BCU. You're watching Hatter Vision. Six, 7, and 8 here for Sacred Heart as we enter the top of the 9th. They need a run, or else they're looking at their 7th loss of the season. Nicholas Billings looking to shut the door here for BCU. And the redshirt freshman delivers first pitch strike to Demore, 0-1. Billings looking for his first save of the season here. BCU's already racked up 2 saves in both their wins. Different pitchers getting those, though. And Demore hits that opposite field foul, snagged up nicely by the first base coach for Sacred Heart, P.J. DeFilippo. Hector Vasquez has 1 save for BCU. Brenton Fisher the other. This, of course, very much a save situation, though, for Billings, so it would be his first if he can get out of this inning without giving up a run. And that one's outside and low. 1-2 now to Demore. Billings, originally from the South Florida area, Pembroke Pines to be precise, which is in Broward County. Played his high school ball at Somerset Academy, a charter school in that area, as that's high from Billings. 2-2 to count now on Demore. He is 1 for 3 in this game as the freshman first baseman, double in the 2nd. 2 groundouts in the 4th and in the 7th, respectively. The first to the pitcher, the 2nd to 3rd base. And Demore's down swinging. Billings pulling the string on that one for his first K of the game. And that is 6 Ks now for BCU pitching as Ryan Donnelly steps in. Lipthrat in line for the win here for BCU. Final line for him, 7 2/3. 9 hits, 4 runs, 3 of them earned, with 5 strikeouts through 104 pitches. And really, once he got past the first 2 innings, it was pretty smooth sailing for Lipthrat, at one point retiring 13 in a row. But then ran into a little trouble in the 8th, which is when Billings came in. And now he's looking for the 4-out save. Donnelly, the left fielder, lays off that one for strike 2. He has singled twice in this game, has the senior left fielder. A bunt single in the 2nd, the more regular kind in the 7th. Both times he's been on board, though, he has been taken out on a 4-6-3 or a 6-4-3 double play. One of each, to be precise. There's been 2 of them in this game. Both of them hit into, I should say, by Tyler Galletti, who is due up here, but looks like we're going to see a pinch hitter for Sacred Heart. The 1-2. And Billings gets Donnelly looking. That was a filthy breaking ball there from Billings. 2 outs on the board. And we're going to see a pinch hitter for Sacred Heart. Michael Hernandez will step in.
Your attention, please. Now pitch hitting in the break position for Tyler Galletti, number 27. Michael Hernandez.
Hernandez got the start in last night's game against Stetson at second base. Didn't have a great night, though, 0 for 3 in that game. But now he's the Pioneers' final hope. Only once this year has Sacred Heart lost a 1-run game. That came against St. Thomas. That's actually the only 1-run game they've been in all year. And now Hernandez down to his final strike. The Bethune fans getting a little restless here. They can see their 3rd win of the year. The 0-2, and that's up the middle. Gathered up by the shortstop, and that's as far as it'll get as Hernandez reaches. On an 0-2 count, getting the single up the middle to keep this game alive for Sacred Heart. And now it's Tim McGuire, the freshman second baseman,
Your attention, please. Been joining at first base.
who will step up here to the plate.
Number 40, Mark Smith. Smith pinch runs at first.
So Mark Smith
Second baseman, Tim McGuire.
will pinch run here for Hernandez. Let's see how big of a lead Smith will take here. He is listed as an outfielder, junior from East Haven, Connecticut. McGuire lays off that outside fastball. McGuire in this game has reached twice. A single in the 2nd, reached on an error from the 3rd baseman in the 8th. Billings with a throw over to first there. Smith ends up moving back. BCU nursing a 1-run lead here, top of the 9th, and 2 outs. And Billings misses outside, 2-0. McGuire getting his first start of the weekend at second base. He actually replaces Michael Hernandez in the lineup, who got the start at second last night for Sacred Heart. He's got a huge hole between first and second if he wants to go there, and that's where he does go. Down the line, Tweeton trying to protect the umpire's vision there, or obstructed is probably the better way to put that. But Shannon Jernigan immediately calling that ball foul. Not easy to see around a guy of Tweeton's size. He's 6'7" and 270. Far and away one of the biggest guys on the BCU roster, if not the biggest. The 2-1, runner going, and McGuire fouls that away and smacks his bat on the dirt in frustration. think he was hoping for something a little different there. Maybe trying to drive that ball. But with a 2-2 count here, let's see if Sacred Heart once again calls for the hit and run. If McGuire can pull this, there'll be a lot of room there for Smith to run. The throw to first. And Billings giving Mark Smith something to think about. Bethune-Cookman, 1 out away and 1 strike away from their 3rd win of the year. Sacred Heart just trying their best to stay alive. Another throw over to first. If BCU gets the win, it'll be their 1st win streak of the year officially. There are only 2 wins coming opening day against Youngstown State, and then last time out at home against Jacksonville. Their 6 losses sandwiched in between those 2 games. Sacred Heart starting the year 0-5 before they got their 1st win of the year midweek against Stony Brook. And then they fell last night, of course, to the Hatters, 7-1 right here at Melching. Smith, about 2 strikes from the bag at first, and McGuire swings through that for strike 3, but the ball got away from the catcher, and the throw to first is not in time. So even though that's a K for Billings, the game is not over. Tim McGuire hustling down the line to prevent this game from being over. That was definitely a strike, but Irvin Escobar, the catcher, wasn't able to hold it. So it officially goes into the books as a K. So technically, Billings has 3 Ks here in the top of the 9th, but this game isn't over. Top of the order here in Justin Jordan. Jordan this year has been Sacred Heart's best batter.
Number 21,
Zach Kovalchik now comes in as a pinch runner for Tim McGuire. So you've got Mark Smith at second and Kovalchik at first. Smith, of course, the tying run. Kovalchik potentially the lead run as that one's hit right into the center. But it's Malik Stevens who snags the ball at his knees. And Bethune-Cookman, in somewhat hair-raising fashion, gets their 3rd win of the year. BCU will try to make it a doubleheader sweep for them later on tonight as they take on the Stetson Adders right here at Melching Field, 6:30 first pitch. As for Sacred Heart, 2 losses in a row here. This one, their 2nd loss of the season by 1 run. But they won't have too much time to dwell on this one. They'll have a doubleheader of their own tomorrow. They'll face BCU one more time here in Melching, 11 o'clock first pitch. And then 3 o'clock scheduled tomorrow afternoon versus the Hatters. And they'll also play the Hatters one more time in the midweek, Tuesday night at 6:30 before they end up going south to take on the Owls of Florida Atlantic next weekend. We thank you for joining us here in what was a pretty thrilling game at the very end. Sacred Heart, like they did against Stetson yesterday, getting off to an early lead, eventually held a 2-0 lead at one point, but then BCU scratched their way back. A 4-run 5th, the big one for them, gave them the lead for good, but Sacred Heart would plate 2 more in the 8th, and then the 9th inning, eventually stranding runners at 1st and 2nd. So for all of us here at Hatter Vision, I'm Assad Bendian. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Final score, Bethune-Cookman 5, Sacred Heart 4. BCU with their 3rd win of the year, Sacred Heart falling to 1-7. We'll be back on in about 2 hours or so, just under 2 hours, as Stetson will take on Bethune-Cookman right here at Melching. Until then, have a good afternoon.